Good evening. We, the unwilling, led by the unknowing, are doing the impossible for the ungrateful. We have done so much for so long with so little. We are now qualified to do anything with nothing.
I'm ordering you as a condition of your bond not to participate in this kind of behavior again.
Okay, so Ms. Dugas is on probation for the offense of robbery, a second-degree felony. We were previously here, and she entered pleas of true to counts 1 through 12, all of the counts in that motion, second amended motion to revoke unadjudicated probation. I received the updated pre-sentence report as well as a letter from Ms. Dugas. Has everyone had an opportunity to review that? Are there any additions or corrections?
None from the defense, Your Honor. No, mistake.
All right, and this was unagreed, correct? Ms. Holmes, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've spoken with Ms. Dugas. Obviously, the various new offenses and violations is not acceptable through probation. She understands that. She stated that throughout this time, she did not have much support. She was going through a hard time in life, and she resorted to doing and committing these offenses, not being in obviously the right state of mind to be able to successfully complete probation. Ultimately, Ms. Dugas is requesting to have the opportunity to be reinstated to complete probation, and she would like to address the court in regards to this as to her plan of how she can successfully complete if given the opportunity.
Okay, go ahead.
Ms. West. Complete this probation. I know it's going to be extended if you do grant it to. My name is John. I'm great. I'm being like I don't tell my. You know, but you sound the world.
Ms. Dugas, you did the exact same thing. You robbed someone else while you're on probation for robbery. Not just robbed someone else, you failed to ID, failed to report to probation, you committed the new offense of possession of a controlled substance, you resisted arrest, it's ridiculous to me that you're saying you want a second chance, because this was your second chance. You've already been on probation. You were given the second chance of not going to prison. The fact that Ms. Holmes negotiated a cap of 8 years for you, you should thank your lucky stars. This is ridiculous. 8 years, in my opinion, is not enough. You had every opportunity to do all the things that you're taught. Stop crying, because you weren't crying when you were robbing people and using drugs and not being a good mom and not doing the things that you should have done when you were given this opportunity. Right? Ms. Malfino? Sorry.
I don't think I need to add anything to the report. I think that you follow the agreement. Age, at the very least, is appropriate for her based on the number of violations. I spoke with Mr. Chen yesterday. He does not want to continue to work with her. This is actually her third MTRP. It's about her fifth chance in line of use, not just her second chance in line of use. So,
Ms. Dugas, I'm going to find that you entered your pleas of true to counts 1 through 12 freely and voluntarily. Find those counts true. Find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time, find you guilty of robbery. Going to sentence you to a term of 8 years in the Institutional Division of the Texas Department of Corrections. You will receive credit on that sentence for any time that you've been in custody that the law gives you the right to receive. I'm handing you the trial court certification that shows this was an agreement that I followed, and so you've waived your right to appeal. I've also handed you a written admonishment regarding your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. Because of the judgment entered against you, you're ineligible under Texas law to possess a firearm or ammunition. Possession of a firearm or ammunition could lead to charges against you. Firearm is a legal term, and you should read that written admonishment I provide you to see what devices qualify as a firearm. If you have questions about the laws that make you ineligible to possess a firearm or ammunition, or about how long that lasts, you can talk to Ms. Holmes. I hope you take some advantage of this and actually do what you're saying you're going to do when you get out and change your life. There's programs in prison. Take advantage of them, but you're not going to continue to get opportunities like this. If you continue to violate the law after this, you're going to be considered a habitual offender. And if you do anything again, your minimum punishment is going to be 25 years. 25 years minimum. for what you've been doing. So you need to change your life or you're never going to see your kids, right? Go back with the bailiff. Good morning. Are you Wesley Antoine? And Mr. Antoine is here for sentencing on probation, a deferred probation for aggravated assault, family violence. And that was a 10-year deferred probation that he was given back November 14th of 2023. Entered pleas of true, it looks like, to counts 1 through 11 in the motion to revoke unadjudicated probation. I've received an updated pre-sentence report. This was an open plea to the court. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. The court had previously, when we were here before, it advised the court, that he received 4 months on that new case in Louisiana, but it does involve the same victim, Miss Red, as his case here.
Mhm.
We had discussed 6. The court did not feel comfortable with that, so we've just decided to go on to you.
Okay. All right. So that's what, and I wanted to remind myself, I had a notation on this about that new offense. So the new offense was in Louisiana, and it was domestic abuse, battery, also by strangulation, correct? Against the same victim. All right. Mr. Lewis, you may proceed.
Judge, in this situation, of all my conversations with Mr. Antoine here, a lot of his issues come back to his mental health problems. And at the time, I believe he was not really open about getting the help that he needed with these issues. And once he got on probation, of course, those issues have already became a very unstable situation. He admitted that he was homeless for a period of time there, which why he went back to Louisiana. All of his family is there. We had some sort of support system. And but Judge, he understands that he did mess up. He understands that, he hasn't done what he needed to on probation. He's taken it out for it. And he's just, at this point, he's asking for any consideration possible for so he can get out.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. So on that original pre-sentence report, and the orders that went along with that, I mean, this is a first-degree felony. So on that deferred probation, it specifically ordered all the things that Mr. Lewis is asking for now. You've already had access to all of those things. To be placed on the specialized mental health caseload, to get an evaluation and get any type of help and treatment that is available. You were ordered to do those things. And in fact, what you pled to on this motion, true, is that you didn't get the evaluation completed. And so you never were able to get services. And that was your choice. Everything was given to you. You had all the opportunities in the world to get whatever help you needed so that you could be successful. But the fact that you're on probation, I mean, the allegations in this underlying case is that you had a cane and that you just beat the crap out of Miss Red with that cane while she's on the ground. And then you get out and you get around her again and you strangle her. I mean, it's just beyond me. That's where what you would do. I mean, it sounds like you go to Louisiana, if you have support, that's great. But to go back and do that to her without permission, you weren't working, you didn't have your mental health, you didn't do your community service, you didn't do the batterers intervention prevention program, which probably would have taught you how to not beat on and attack and put your hands on people that you supposedly care about. Got a new offense over there for that. Anyway, I'm going to find that you entered your pleas of true to counts 1 through 11 freely and voluntarily. I'm going to find those counts true. Find sufficient evidence to find you guilty, and at this time find you guilty of aggravated assault on a family victim. I'm going to sentence you to a term of 15 years in the institutional division of the Texas Department of Corrections. You will receive credit on that sentence for any time that you've been in custody that the law gives you the right to receive. Um, I believe the initial was yes. I am going to make the finding that there was a deadly weapon in that initial case. I'm going to hand you the trial court certification. You need to sign this with Mr. Lewis. It shows that this was not a plea agreement. You have some rights to appeal. You can talk to him about that. I'm also going to hand you a written admonishment regarding your ineligibility to possess a firearm or ammunition. Because of the judgment entered against you, you're ineligible under Texas law to possess a firearm or ammunition. Possession of a firearm or ammunition could lead to charges against you. Firearm is a legal term, and you should read the written admonishment I provide to see what devices qualify as a firearm. If you have questions about the laws that make you ineligible to possess a firearm or ammunition or about how long that lasts, you can talk to Mr. Lewis. Good luck to you, sir. Sign that, and then you can go back with the bailiff.
Ms. Woods, you indicated you went to Subway to get a sandwich and there was an issue, and ultimately that Mr. Williams got upset with, I'm not sure what, his belief that you mistreated staff or something, and then called you, you said 100 times?
Yeah, so I have been receiving multiple harassing phone calls, and it started since November the 21st after I left that sandwich shop. And I believe that they may have given that phone number to like a family member or somebody. So all the numbers that have been calling me, like it was multiple threatening, harassing calls, and I made attempts to block those numbers as well. So when I look back at the numbers, it all goes back to Brandon Williams, and then it goes back to that same address. And so every day I have to pass this sandwich shop and I don't feel safe. I'm a single woman. I live by myself. And, just passing it every day by my job, I just don't feel safe. I work 5 days a week and I have to drive past that establishment. And I've been receiving a high volume of calls.
Hey everybody, jumping in. I'm in a hotel, so my camera don't want to work right and everything wants to mess up. But I wanted to mention this video is from Miss Fields. Go check out her channel. She does a good job. It's Court of Public Opinion, Miss Fields. I'll put a link in the description, but she does a good job. She catches some courts that I don't even notice, and I really enjoy her channel. So make sure to check her out. This is a good one. This is a subway disaster. There we go.
Still. So I have screenshots that I presented to show that I have been receiving multiple phone calls from those numbers. Some numbers are from block numbers, but when I pick it up, it's the same voice, and I'm indicating to stop calling me, stop harassing my phone. Each time I find out that it's that voice on the other end, the same voice, same male voice threatening, I make attempts to block the number. And I just want to stop any form of contact. I just don't want any contact made anymore by this person. I don't want to be harassed anymore. And that's why I just wanted to put the legal proceedings in place so that I can feel safe.
All right. So you said you received calls from a variety of numbers, and you said that you did research on those numbers and they all came back to Mr. Williams. Is that?
Yes, they've all came back to that same person, same address. It's all from the same person. Yes.
Okay.
And it's
And
just
have you ever met Mr. Williams?
I have not met this person, but it's just been multiple phone calls from my phone. And when I pick up, it's the same male voice, and it's a threat, making threats, just harassing repeatedly, and just calls back to back to back. And then when I traced it, all the numbers come back to this person and to that address.
All right. Thank you.
Mhm.
And what's the address it comes back to?
Yeah, so it comes back to a Greenwood, Indiana address, and I have it. I have it screenshotted too, and I can share that with you as well. Let me find it here.
Okay. Well, let me just ask Mr. Williams, are you in Greenwood, Indiana?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm in Greenwood, Indiana.
Mr. Williams, go ahead.
Okay. Well, Your Honor, I don't know if you had an opportunity to look at the evidence that was presented late. And this was because the first time I ever heard of anything about this case or what Miss Woods is talking about is on the 21st of this month when I was served by the sheriff saying, hey, you got this, this hearing to go to. If you look at the evidence, I don't know if you have it in front of you. Number one.
No, I don't have anything that you have filed.
Okay, Your Honor. The number that Miss Woods is talking about that I'm associated with is not registered to me. It is a Verizon jetpack that was disconnected from me in 2023. And I have the evidence here, and you could probably see it once you're we did file a little bit later, so that information is in there. But that jetpack, which basically just gives you internet, it's not a phone. So this is the number that is currently not connected to anything. And this hasn't been used since 2023. So that number is like a spoof number that someone is using in order to make these particular phone calls to Miss Woods. Secondly, I live in Greenwood, Indiana. I'm not associated with anyone in Washington State. I haven't been to Washington State in over 5 years. I don't know what the Subway location is. I have no connection to anyone at Subway or anything like that. And so for Ms. Woods to claim in her statement that she did her research, I did research on that number as well. And it came back with, it was registered to no one. But I looked up my own phone number, my 360 phone number, and both of my phone numbers that she articulated in the in her statement came up with my name. And so my big question is, if she did the research, I don't know what research she's done, except the fact that maybe she went to see some public records that are like old names connected with phone numbers or old phone numbers. And she just took that number and associated me with it without understanding that it's an old phone number that I'm no longer registered to. And I think that's the leap that right now she's taking in order to unwittingly falsely accuse me of something that I have no idea what's going on about this. So, but some things that I looked at and the evidence from my perspective is when I looked at the statement that Miss Woods was saying that someone threatening called her from Subway, it was an unusual thing to go back into Subway after you felt so threatened that she went back into Subway to take on these people who apparently had said, I'm going to hurt you. And she goes back into Subway to face them. And it seems like there's a connection that I'm not privy to. And I'm being wrapped into it because instead of going through the Subway chain of command, if you were, it's just filing a petition against a phone number instead of doing the due diligence of finding out who's connected to the phone number, or even if that phone number is even active, because currently, Your Honor, it is not.
Okay, so in your testimony, I'm hearing you say you have no idea what this is about and you have not made any calls. You don't know Ms. Woods and you've not made any calls to her at all. Am I accurate? Is that a sworn statement by you?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Woods, Your Honor, is this a voice you believe you've heard?
Yes. So, Your Honor, I would like to add this, that I filed a police report that same day. And so the police, they did do an investigation into the numbers and they did trace it back to Verizon Wireless. So when they did do the full investigation on that, and so I did also file a complaint with the owner as well. So the threat started after I left the shop. And so I did go and do my due diligence and I filed a police report, and they did link it back to a Verizon Wireless user. And so when I did call Verizon Wireless, they did confirm that it is an active number from a Brandon Williams. And so they also had all of those numbers that were linked to that particular person that was making the harassing phone calls. And then also, I did look up and do research on Brandon Williams, the numbers and everything. And it also stated that that their address was in Puyallup, Washington back in 2023. So it wasn't 5 years that they weren't, in Washington. And so where I don't feel safe, I would like to add that I don't feel safe because I'm still receiving those multiple harassing phone calls. And so when I did file a report with the police department, that's where they did trace back that number to that person. I do have the address. It was from in Greenwood, Indiana, and that's where all the numbers are coming back to. So I'm still getting these calls. I personally, I don't feel safe. So when I entered into the establishment, the workers, they instructed me to write down my phone number on a piece of paper. And so I wrote down my number and I handed it off to them. And that's when, like when the sandwich was remade, the employees, they were very disgruntled. They were upset that I came back, and it was something, a really simple fix. And so when I left the establishment, that's when I started receiving the multiple harassing calls. And I did contact the owner. I let her know everything that was going on. I filed a report with her. I went straight up to the corporate level, and she was very much interested in finding out who was behind, these multiple harassing calls. And so when I did do research on this number, it said that their last prior address to Greenwood, Indiana was in Puyallup, Washington in 2023. So I don't know if they have a connection with the people at the subway shop where they can easily come back or, carry out any threats. So the threats definitely started when I got in the car. I answered the phone, and that's when the threats started. And then that's when I did my diligence to contact the owner, and I made a police report that same night in
All right.
response to that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. Williams, is that the correct street address?
Thornhill is correct, Your Honor. However, the Puyallup timeline is incorrect. So the 2023, I have been living in Greenwood since 2020. As part of the evidence that was submitted, though late, it shows a deed for a home that we have purchased in Greenwood in June of 2020. So I don't know, the evidence that Ms. Woods is bringing up almost feels like it's hearsay, saying that she did all this research and the police did all this stuff. But the only thing that was submitted, as far as I could see, was a bunch of numbers saying that, block, 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 and then one number that was a previous used number on a jetpack on the internet that I owned back in 2023. So I don't know how she's putting these things together. We brought the jetpack from Puyallup because we still have our Washington phone numbers here. So maybe they're like, oh, well, that number is still connected to Puyallup because you have the jetpack in Indiana. However, the jetpack's ability to make outgoing phone calls is not possible. And the other thing is that we actually disconnected. We have a statement right here from Verizon from an old email saying that it is disconnected as of these dates with all of these phone numbers. So I don't know what Ms. Woods is getting her information, Your Honor, but it seems like I have no ability to cross-examine what she's saying. She can just articulate it here in court without having the burden of proof that I think she should have.
Okay. Do you know Ms. Woods? Ms. Williams?
Say again, Your Honor. Were you speaking
Do
with
you
me?
know Ms. Woods?
I do not know Miss Woods, Your Honor.
Do you have any interest in any Subway shop anywhere?
Absolutely not, Your Honor. I have no idea I don't even know what Subway shop they're talking about, Miss Woods was talking about. I have no connection to any of this. I'm just someone who is loosely connected to a phone number, and this is being the whole case for Miss Woods.
Okay.
And Your Honor, I would like to add that while he says that all the screenshots that there's no evidence that he's connected to it, the screenshots of my calls show that it is from that number, that 253 number. And when I called Verizon Wireless and when the detectives did an investigation, they linked it all back to that phone number and to that name and that address. And it's
Right.
coming, and every time
All right,
I
Ms.
answer
Woods.
it, it's the same voice and the same person.
See, you're convinced based on listening to Mr. Williams today that that's the one who's been calling you.
I have a history of multiple calls, and then it's coming from that number. And I can also provide evidence from Verizon Wireless stating that that number was linked to that person under his name, and also the detective investigation as well. So when I did my research, all of the calls are coming back from that same number. And
Right. No, I understand that. The issue is, has that number been spoofed by somebody else? You've heard the same voice lots of times. The question is Mr. Williams a voice you've heard, or is somebody spoofing his number, which means they're taking his number and making it look like it's calling from his number, and they're the ones leaving you the messages? Do you have any way to determine between those two possibilities what has occurred?
So when I do answer the phone, it is that same voice. It's a deep male voice. It's the same voice that's calling and then making harassing threats. And each time I go and I block that number. So the numbers that are coming, it's all linking back to that person.
Right.
And so I don't know, like when I went to that Subway sandwich shop, there were 2 employees working that night, and I gave them my phone number. I wrote it down, and they were very disgruntled. As soon as I walked out of that establishment, and nobody was in there but those 2 employees that night. So as soon as I walked out of there, that's when I started receiving multiple back-to-back harassing phone calls. And this person knew exactly what I ordered, and they knew the time that I went in there. And it was just, and then I blocked them. I told them to stop calling me, and it was just multiple people. Not multiple people, but the same voice that is on the other end. And I do identify it as the person that is here today. And once again, I just want the harassing phone calls to stop.
Hold on. Okay. I'm just having a hard time buying that I know you're convinced today that it's Mr. Williams. What would be his motivation living in Indiana to do this? Any sense?
I feel that because the employees that were working there, when I came in and I placed the order and it was an incorrect order, they did my order wrong. And so when I came back to make a complaint about it, I felt that they were upset and disgruntled. The person that was there, she instructed me to give me her number and put it in. I'm just saying that once, then she went to the back for an extended period of time. And I feel that they wanted to do that as a way to get back at me for making a complaint. And I feel that she got a family member or a friend to do that.
Okay. So that's what you think has occurred.
Yes, and that's what has happened. That was like, and it was just ongoing back to back, and it's still been going on, just multiple calls and back to back. And when I looked up all the numbers that were calling me, all of those numbers are coming back.
I know.
That person.
I get that. Okay. Mr. Williams, what do you do in Greenwood?
I'm My family have no family members that live in Washington. I have no family in Washington. Your Honor, I even have phone records from the.
No. What do you do? What's your job?
I am a life coach, but I retired from the Army in 2020, and I got a job in Bloomington, Indiana, which is why I moved here and bought a home, and that's why I'm here. I have no family in Washington. I have no connections in Washington. I have nothing in Washington to go and connect to, let alone go and harass Miss Woods about a sandwich. Your Honor. So this is a case of strong mistaken identity for whatever reason.
Okay, yeah, I get that. So, are you a life coach? You're working out of the house. Are you working full time? How does that work?
Yes, sir. Right now I'm looking for clients, and anyone on here who wants to be a client, I love that. But right now I work as
thousands on YouTube. So yeah,
as a health and wellness holistic coach, and I do that full time right now, Your Honor.
All right.
And Your Honor, I just wanted to add too that I work 5 days a week as a registered nurse. And
Yep.
I would like to add that like just the harassing calls, that does limit me.
Ms. Woods, you don't have to convince me that the getting hundreds of calls is harassment. I'm totally satisfied about that. The question is, who's the one that's calling you? That's really the issue here.
Right. Understood. And Your Honor, I did work with the detectives extensively, trying to find the number and the person behind it. And I called Verizon Wireless customer service, and they did tell me that the numbers were registered under that name. So
I understand
and that person. So it's all the numbers that are coming back that are calling.
All right.
Your Honor, can my speak?
Mr. Williams. Yeah, hold on.
Okay.
All right. There is no doubt in my mind that Ms. Woods has been harassed based on her bad experience at the Subway shop. The issue before the court is Mr. Williams the one whose phone number, whose name has been linked to a phone number, is the one who's doing the harassment. Mr. Williams lives in Indiana, has for a while, based on his testimony, and indicates he has no family members in Washington and no interest in Subway stores or any of the employees at Subway stores, unless he's hungry. So I'm not satisfied that there's sufficient evidence. The fact that it comes back to a number isn't enough in my mind. And unfortunately, with the continuing, I'd say improvements, but I use that word carefully, of technology, the ability to make a call from one number and make it appear that it's a call from another number is pretty widespread these days. I believe that's what's happening here. I believe it's likely somebody associated with the store at issue, and somehow they got onto this number and are using it as a basis for calling Ms. Woods. So Ms. Woods, this doesn't solve your problem. I think right now we don't know who is originating the calls. I am not satisfied in any way that it's Mr. Williams who is doing so. I don't see any motivation for that. I'm going to enter a denial. I have entered a denial. I sympathize with you having to receive these calls. Honestly, I think that's up to you now you're going to have to change your phone number so that person doesn't have your number, and then the calls will end, or hopefully you've done that. But I think that's the only way to address it right now. So I've entered the denial. I'm not satisfied that Mr. Williams is the one making the call. You said you thought you identified his voice. I'm not convinced. I think you could identify a voice from 100 calls if you had known that was Mr. Williams ahead of time, but not afterwards. The mind will link those voices together as a way of trying to, prove something to yourself. But in this case, I don't think that's accurate. So I entered
Your
the
Honor,
denial.
could I add something there before I move on?
You can ask something. I've already entered the order. I'm not.
Yeah. Understood. So, Your Honor, I would like to submit additional exhibits of the address and the name of the person with the numbers all linked to that same person. And then that also supports
No, I understand that that's exactly what would happen. That Mr. Williams' name is going to be associated with that address and that phone number. I have no doubt believing that.
Yes.
What
And then
I'm
also,
indicating to you is somebody else has taken that number and they're calling you probably from Olympia or Tacoma, and they're making it seem like it's a Mr. Brandon Williams in Greenwood, Indiana, outside of Bloomington, who's giving you a call, and it's not. It's somebody else.
and then
And
Your Honor, okay, I'm
okay,
sorry.
all right, Ms. Woods. Yeah, we can't
I
dwell on this.
wanted
I have
to
other cases I have to hear.
add this one
Your
before you
Honor,
move on. I'm so sorry.
All right, thank you.
Oh, Your Honor.
Thank you
I
both.
just had okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Are you kidding me?
Oh my God.
You have got to be kidding me.
State your appearances again.
Ellis Friedman for the plaintiff.
Lou Masco here for defendant.
Min Kim also defendant.
All right. I set this hearing today on these matters in an attempt to try to figure out, pursuant to the court's previous order, what had been done and completed. It's indicated that I would receive something yesterday. I received it today. I've attempted. I'm gonna do. You sent it to me over here.
Yeah, the green items are 100% complete. The way this was compiled was Chad Brewer, our inspector, entered all of these apartments after our last court meeting and met with many of the residents and detailed out any complaints they'd told you, any complaints they'd told Legal Aid, and any new complaints they wanted to tell Chad. So this is a very, very comprehensive list of everything going on in these apartments. A lot of it's new, though, just as of 2 days ago, and it's all compiled here. And then what's highlighted in green is complete, and everything else we're working on today, tomorrow, hiring contractors, following up the contractors, pulling the necessary permits, all of that stuff.
I guess the green ones are completed.
The green is completed, yes.
Presuming that this is right, of the 21 units that I listed back on February 4th, only 6 have been completed.
On that original order, most of it was related to no heat, and we've determined that everyone has heat. That was the main focus. And then now there's much smaller issues.
Well, there was no heat, there's mold, there were other items that were on that list. And I'm now well into this, and I have 6 units. I don't get it.
6 units where 100% of the issues are complete.
That doesn't mean that there hasn't been progress made on others, however.
I get that, but I also, the court issued an order, and from what I'm seeing on this list, I don't see that it's being done.
Well, in fairness to the contractor, your list had a number of units that are defendants here, and then there also was a list that was provided by legal services of some people who are not involved in the litigation who had what they perceived to be critical issues, which some of them were, and those were addressed. So there were more issues than there were orders, and they had to do some triaging in the sense of what was more, I guess I'll say, habitable issues as opposed to other types. So there was some triaging done by the contractor, understandably, given another list from legal services.
Yeah, and 6 of the apartments are now vacant.
Ms. Kim, you were gonna say something?
Yes, Your Honor, just as to this list with the green coloring, I just wanted to point out that some of the work that is alleged to be done, we've spoken with tenants here and they are not done. I can be more specific if the court would like. So
Please.
it said that she was sprayed for her roach infestation, but the tenant reports it's not true. That they never showed up. She has
Is she here?
Yes.
I didn't even know they said they cleaned my apartment. I just got an email like the day before stating that they were going to come between the hours of 12 and 2
Today?
yesterday. They never came at all. And I stayed home. I even told my job I'd be late just to make sure that maybe they might come after. And I didn't leave the house till 5.
Yesterday.
And no one came to spray my apartment. And I took pictures of the roaches that live with me, you know. We share dinner sometimes. Yeah. They got a social security number and everything.
From the roaches?
Oh my God, yeah, they pay rent.
Oh,
That's how many there are.
All right,
Pretty
that's
cool. I was told today that they were identified as German roaches, and German roaches multiply at a faster rate. And that is why when they put
you're an entomologist now.
yeah, actually an entomologist came to my house.
Okay, wow. All right. So this is a problem. If I have my statement was not to be we were in church, so I don't need anybody to sign on. But all right, but appreciate it. I have her here saying it wasn't done. I have a document submitted to the court saying it was done. I can't even hear myself half the time, much less hear what's going on when I've got people in. Okay, behind. Folks, you're gonna have to quiet, please. So this is a problem because she's standing before me telling me nobody showed up. This list that I have says somebody came, and oh man. And both can't be true.
It does state on the email that I need to leave the premise once he comes for 3 to 4 hours because they were bombing.
That they were bombing, but they never showed up. So you didn't have to leave. You were just there. Is there another one, or is that just that one that you had as an example?
That is the sample from the list, but also the list does not include a tenant who reported severe repair issues to the court and are part of the order.
I think there's 4 that I identified that aren't on this list that were part of your order, Your Honor.
4, say that again.
I just did a quick.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because
4 that were included in your order are not listed on the spreadsheet.
They may have been the ones that have vacated. There's, I think, 6 who vacated.
Well, you said there's one.
Not on this list, Your Honor. We have a tenant who has no heat as of Monday. She went to the office immediately on Monday to report it. And we received a document from Mr. Beal saying that she reported it just yesterday. And she just showed me her emails and messages and so forth. So she still has no, so we ask that she be added to the order.
The representation, as the court understood it, that was made to me was that heat had been checked in these units. And I know at the time of the hearing back on Tuesday, I don't recall which tenant it was, had explained that, yeah,
the heat may be working there, but then there are the other rooms that were still cold. And I'll be honest with you, with this young lady sitting here before me right now, I get there's the heating issues, but this young lady sitting here before me right now, and I'm looking at a list that says something's done, and she's telling me that it's not done, is a huge problem. I don't know what to believe, but I'm gonna be honest with you, I believe her.
I'm looking at the Griffin pest control report that says her unit was treated. That's why I relayed that to the court. But yeah, we need to break.
Mr. Beal, it doesn't work that way. I issued an order that certain things be done. I was supposed to get a list yesterday so that I could more thoroughly go through that list. I didn't get it. I didn't get it till this morning. I did the best I can in looking at this list. This list is telling me, just by way of example, that her unit was treated. Without her being here to tell us something different, the court would assume that it was treated. I don't care where the information came from. I don't care what you looked at. I don't care what was presented in what way. No one makes a misrepresentation to this court about what's done, ever.
We would need the opportunity to bring the Griffin pest control technician to testify to the court.
Well, get him here today. If I'm going to have to play these games, we're going to play them by my rules on my turf. Let's go. Let's get them here today. She's here. She's the one that's telling me it wasn't done. I've got a document submitted by the plaintiff that tells me something was done and it wasn't done. You also told me that all the heat was checked, and I still have all of these complaints coming through. Some of them you're telling me are new. I don't know what to believe, but I'm going to tell you, I'm having a hard time believing you guys right now.
Don't lump me in there.
The note heat.
Your Honor. The plumber who came in today spoke with the main office, and I do have the plumber's name. The main office also confirmed that Griffin never came to my building.
The what?
That the Griffin Pest Control never came to my building.
Who confirmed that?
The front office told the plumber when he called, because I let him know that I never had pest control.
Then why is it represented to the court? Mr. Friedman, you better talk to your client, because I do not play that way. You can talk to him, but I don't even want to hear anything right now. I'm going to stand in recess.
I have a 3 o'clock. How about we reconvene with you? I have 3 o'clock with you.
You better talk to your client, because I want to know. I have no idea. I got 6 things on this that supposedly are done, but now I don't even have that done because she's telling me it's not done.
They said they were going to probably get to it today or tomorrow, but saying that it was supposed to be done one day but not doing it and claiming you did it is lying.
Sir.
We just got that list right when you got the list. Well, actually about a half hour later. And things that are in here that they are done, we either have not gotten a permit for, so fixing drywall, or permits were pulled today to do that work, and we have not scheduled an inspection. So, and any of the units pending in your case, no inspections have been scheduled to do the work. 2 permits have been pulled total. And so,
so if it tells me, just if I'm hearing you, so if it tells me drywall's been done, it couldn't have been done, or it was done in violation of the city ordinance, because it shouldn't have. Court's gonna stand in recess.
All right.
I think when we ended, there's an indication in terms of what was provided with the court wasn't quite true. I was then sent the, I guess, service inspection report from Griffin. And I thought the young lady who was I thought she was here.
Your Honor, she was present, but then she had class.
Got it. Okay. The inspection report, let me just pull that up on my screen. For her unit, that's not, I mean, it's a misnomer to say that that was complete because it's not complete. I'm not even sure based upon what she had told us that there was an inspection of her unit to even get the indication that the unit's sanitary, because she said nobody was there. So
I don't know what Griffin did, but I know they sent Mr. Beal a bill for inspecting it. And I guess I don't think that it's unfair for Mr. Beal to assume that if he got a bill for an inspection, the inspection was done.
But the problem is, yeah, I appreciate that, but the problem to say that there's the next column over where there is nothing in there regarding in progress, but her unit hasn't been exterminated. There's been no chemicals or anything applied to her unit according to this.
What I heard her to say, and I don't know if she's conversant, but she seemed to be. What I heard her to say was that there was an inspection that said that she had German roaches and it needed to be bombed. And I assume that she heard that from somebody other than her neighbor.
Right. But, and here's what I guess I'm getting at. But this, it seems to me that then in the in progress column on this sheet, there should be something there. This makes it look like it's done, but it's not done. There were a number of different units on this, but it doesn't tell me, let's say that it does have to be bombed, but it doesn't tell me when that's going to happen or if it's going to happen. Nothing on here tells me that it's going to happen even. I'm also concerned what was reported from the inspector from IPSI that there are indications that certain work that would require permits is done, but the permits hadn't been pulled.
I think it depends on which properties and which units, because Your Honor, some of the work some drywall work needs to be inspected, I understand. If there was something behind the drywall that was causing the problem, you have to make sure that what was behind the drywall causing the problem was fixed before you can get the drywall permit closed. But then there's also drywall work that's more or less just cosmetic, where somebody's banged into a wall or something and the people fix it. So I don't believe that Mr. Myers would say any drywall work, if a door punches a hole in the drywall, requires a building permit to be patched and fixed. And so, go ahead.
Actually, I also have my building official here to discuss some of these things. If I may.
Yes.
Can I have Mr. Dunham come up as well?
Absolutely. Just make sure to place your names on the record.
Yeah. I'm Joe Myers. I'm the Community Services Director, and I have Jerry Dunham, the Building Department Manager and Licensed Building Inspector, Official, and Builder. And so the reason why we wish we would have gotten this list earlier is we could have went through some of the things they are actively pulling permits for in other units, just not in these units. And when they're saying things are done, when we haven't even had an inspection, it's hard for us to know that. And so while there are some small drywall fixes, the vast majority of the ceiling and drywall and disrepair, especially due to the pictures Mr. Beal has sent us directly on the mold growing behind, we would want to actually ensure that any drywall repair is done correctly to the code. And so Mr. Dunham can actually speak to that, but that's where, because we haven't actually we just got this list today. We want to go out and inspect. And so our plan is hopefully to do that on Monday if the proper notice is given to the tenants. But once again, we don't even have all of the properties that are before you right now on this list that we received today.
Right. Sir, what did you want to tell me, if anything?
Well, we were talking about the drywall repair stuff. We have told the property that any drywall repair in a fire assembly, which would be ceilings in apartment buildings, or areas where we have noted that there was mold or moisture, all those do require a building permit because that is liability with fire separation. You have to have it fixed correctly. Can't just, sometimes a little hole, you cannot just patch that little hole. You have to cut it a certain size because it's part of a fire rated assembly. That's how it's tested. So a couple of these on the green for different properties do not have, that say ceiling, drywall repair, don't have a building permit at this time for that project.
So I guess Mr. Freeman and Mr. Beal, when do the property intend to comply with the court's order? I mean, if complying with the court's order means that I first have to get to the city of Ypsilanti and get an inspection before I do it, at least I would begin to see that progress. I'll be absolutely honest, I'm flabbergasted and a bit disappointed that this is the list that I have and that this is all that's been done in effectively almost 2.5 weeks.
Your Honor, I think that it's important to note that I understand the court's frustration, period. But it is important to note that it's been represented that there's been 2 building permits pulled on these subject properties, but there's been 40 building permits pulled total. There's a lot of work that's being done at these properties, at these buildings, that is in addition to the work that's being done on these cases where there's about, I think there's about 20 in front of you with respect to these repair issues. So it's not as if Beal's team is completely ignoring this problem or this project. They're doing a lot of work out there, and they may be spread too thin, but that doesn't mean that they're not trying to get this job done.
Yes.
To be clear, the 2 permits being pulled are for the units before the court right now. I do have 38 permits that have been pulled on the property.
Yes, sir. I also do want to bring up that this afternoon, one of the units on this list we have tagged as being unsafe, unlivable because of the condition of that unit. Also in that same building, it's not on the list, but we also condemn that unit as being unsafe because of the conditions we saw this afternoon out there.
Is somebody living in that unit?
Yes.
With 4 kids.
It'd be
Edwina Harris.
Harris,
The one that spoke up about her sewage and.
so we checked the sewage issue out there, and
so
because of that, we had to tag it unsafe.
She is. So,
yeah.
So Ms. hang on one moment. So her unit's been tagged as
unsafe.
Oh, dear God. Ms. Harris.
Yes, sir.
So how many people are in your unit?
It's me and I have 5 children. My youngest 2 are with my sister right now because of what's going on. And then right now, currently it's me and my 2 oldest.
So we're gonna offer.
No, you're not just offering. She's gonna be in a hotel with those 2 children tonight. I don't care what you've got to do. She is not staying in that unit if it's tagged. So you can offer what you want. She better be housed someplace else tonight. So Ms. Harris, you packed up the things that you need. Somebody's going to be over there. You guys are going to have different living accommodations tonight until this court says otherwise.
Okay.
Okay. So was there anything else?
We're actually, so in that building, we have given the property owner 2 hours to actually start to do some of the work, because when we were in there, the conditions Mr. Dunham saw the vast majority. Mine was just in Miss Edwina Harris's apartment, but that building, if you want to see some of the pictures, it's quite horrific.
Which building is that one?
Mhm.
And are there other residents?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and there was one other unit when I was there, I tagged on the spot unsafe.
Another unit, but that's not one that's before me.
Yeah, it doesn't appear, I don't believe it's before you, it'd be unit one.
Is it possible for them to get it livable in 2 hours?
Well, the one unit was the two units that were the main issue are vacant units. One has a bunch of trash. So you walk in that building, it just smells terrible because a unit's completely filled of trash that's vacant, that's unsecured, that squatters have been living in. The other unit next to it, which is below unit, that unit, it has sewage leak or water leak. Everything else, carpet was completely soaked in the unit. So they'd have to get someone out there to start cleaning up the water, tearing off the carpet, tearing off any drywall that's molding, the sewer leaks. I mean, it was pretty bad. I got pictures of it if you wanted to see.
Harris, we not forget her last name, but in her unit, I would say it's one of the better units that we have actually inspected as far as cleanliness on the tenant's part. But there was so many flies and she had a lot of fly strips based on the standing water in the unit. The flies are just everywhere. We were seeing them buzzing around. And like I said, normally we understand that sometimes tenants are a problem. This unit was, in my opinion, very well maintained. Just there was nowhere for the sewage to go and it was backed up.
Oh my God.
And then as far as her heat, she presented us the work order over them saying her furnace is broken and she might have a furnace by Monday. So, and I gave that to legal aid as well.
We've asked.
We asked her to be relocated, and Mr. Beal's response was that she should move in with her son.
In another condemned apartment.
Bill, you saw what I just ordered as it regards Miss Harris. If there are others that are similarly situated, I think that's what you ought to anticipate this court is going to order, and that you best just do it. And I can't make it any clearer than that. I realize those cases are under my jurisdiction, so I can't specifically order it, but they're going to get here somehow or another, because this is. You guys don't have the right to have people live like this. You just don't.
And I understand Your Honor, I understand your position thoroughly. And I'm not saying I disagree with anything you said today.
Okay, go ahead.
But I do believe that that Mr. Beal sincerely believes that he's trying to be part of the solution, not the problem, and that he has crews out there. They are working. They are trying to be responsive. And I don't believe that he inherited this mess, I guess is the best way I can put it. He didn't cause it.
I understand that. But if part of what, I get that. And maybe I could sit there and applaud him on the back all I want. All I know is that as I look at all of these folks when they're in my courtroom, these are human beings that are having to live in a circumstance. Miss Harris, when she was standing before me, she tells me what the problem is, and maybe I didn't ask the right questions. And for that, Miss Harris, I apologize. But that she's got it's her and her 4 babies are living in a place of just sewage and flies all around. And so if you're going to fix it, okay, fix it. But you just can't have these human beings, these people, real people, just living in this garbage. You just can't. None of that is okay.
Can I say something really quick?
Hold on, Yes, Miss Harris, go ahead.
I'm on my way to work, but who do I get in contact with for tonight? Like, who am I supposed to call? Do I have to?
Mr. Brio, who's she gonna call?
Can you give me your phone number, please?
I wanted to raise an issue regarding plaintiff's continued efforts to collect rent from the tenants. Or many of the tenants today that we spoke to told us that they're constantly being asked to pay.
There was
directly to plaintiff.
Yeah, there was one notice actually that was given to Mr. Myers where it was, I think it was an email or a written document that specifically said, you know, you owe us rent, please pay either via ACH or cash or credit card, which is contrary to the court's order as well. There's several notices that have been floating around. Another one says you owe us a lot of money and we want to do an occupancy check. And I think this is an effort to determine whether our units are vacant. And Your Honor pointed out that people may not have abandoned their units and relocate. So I'm a little concerned that they're going to treat it as abandoned when that's not actually the case. And then the third notice that we've seen a copy of is a housekeeping notice where they're going to do a housekeeping inspection. And I was a little perplexed by the effort behind that. I just wanted to make the court aware of it.
All right. I'm going to ask legal services to draft an order for the court regarding this escrow so we can just get this all clear. Escrow on these cases, it's to be paid to the court. I understand all of that. Let me just say this. I am exceedingly troubled by what I view as absolute lack of progress. I don't know that I care about anybody's intentions. I, at this point, may have to just care about what the results are in terms of it. So in that respect, because we were here, they knew that these repairs needed to be done. I issued an order February 4th. I don't see the progress that I'd like to see. I'm not saying that everything needed to be done, but I don't see the progress that I'd like to see. It seems that circumstances for some tenants are getting worse. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set a hearing as to why the management, and I guess that's Mr. Beal, as well as Arbor One and Arbor One West, should not be held in civil contempt for failure to comply with the court's order. I have prepared, Mr. Friedman, you, I believe, can accept service on behalf of all of those parties. We have all copies. They're being filed in every one of the cases that are before me. And somebody's going to have to show cause why this stuff isn't done to the court's satisfaction. I hate to go that route, but I'm not going to have, I don't have a choice. What I'm hearing today, I just I don't see any other option, because I don't think some are not listening to what the court is trying to tell them. So if I have to bring a heavy hammer, I'm just going to bring a heavy hammer. I was hoping we didn't have to go that route, but that's what I have to do. That's what we have to do. So we have copies for you of all. There are actually 40 copies of that order to show cause, and they've all been signed off and all set for March 11th. At 10, I do believe, so I can get some other things cleared out of the docket.
They keep on emailing her, asking her about her money.
About her money, what?
They keep around her.
About what?
Statements of her escrow payment citizen. And then they told her to turn her keys in, but she still stay there.
and they told her to turn on Tuesday, and they gonna come over Monday and inspect her apartment.
That's what you were talking about.
After we told them that we don't have no heat. She had two autism brothers that live there with her.
Okay, all right, ma'am. Somebody's gonna have to put together something. You talked about the emails and those kinds of things. I need to see something in front of me so that I can try to deal with it. Ma'am?
Maybe that's
Now you're gonna throw out names. That's okay, just, I'll tell you what, get those to legal services, okay, right here. And let them kind of get it before the court, get it properly before me, okay? And I will deal with it. The only thing that I will tell you, and I know it's got to be a bit distressing, in my order, I laid out that they were to direct tenancies if they were here before the court to pay it to court escrow or to the Ypsilanti Building Department. Because they don't have COCs. So I'm just gonna put it this way. Mr. Friedman, I know that you will direct your clients to do the proper thing. If they want to play with me,
They don't.
let them play.
They don't.
Because they don't want to play the game. They do not want to do that.
No, I agree.
I am not, and just to be clear, I'm not going to have the higher ups tell me that somebody in the office did something that they shouldn't have been doing. The buck is going to stop as close to the top as I can get.
I hear you, Your Honor. The only one thing I did want to say kind of in response to the lady's issue, and maybe I misheard her, but she said she reported no heat and they said they were going to come out and inspect. I mean, that's okay, isn't it?
Well, it might, I don't think the two were connected. I think there was the report of no heat. Then there's the issue of her not paying and then wanting to inspect. I think, as I understood what she was telling me, those two things were connected, which was the same thing that Ms. Masco was indicating.
Yes, Your Honor, if I may, it seems like whenever the tenants bring up a repair problem, the first thing plaintiff wants to know is when they're going to pay their balance. They want proof of the payments in escrow, which they can just call the court and find out, honestly, or ask their counsel to verify.
Oh, I don't think they really want to know that. What'd you say? Yeah, so I didn't use the word, but she did. I know what they're doing. Yes, ma'am.
Let you go first. I'll go after you.
Yes.
I was wondering, because I know the court has asked us at the last hearing on Tuesday to inspect all of the units that are before the court. And you had said that a 24-hour notice. I was wondering if the plaintiff can give that notice over the weekend, so on Monday, myself and Mr. Dunham can go out and actually inspect all of these units.
Can that happen? Sure. All right. Turn it right now. Yes, ma'am.
Well, honestly, we already have noticed about because we have 5 checks happening on Monday for 3 different issues. We have a housekeeping check that they do. We have an occupancy check that they're doing on Monday as well. All these things are happening on Monday.
Oh, hold it. What do you mean?
Those emails that were provided to legal aid counsel, those are emails about what is happening on Monday. One of them I have both of them right here. On Monday, the 24th, between 8 and 5 p.m. Jessica from Real Properties will enter your unit for a housekeeping inspection. You do not have to be home. You can be if you like. The other one is an occupancy check, which is, hi, resident, I hope everything is well with you. We noticed your balance is quite high. Are you living on the property? If not, please return your keys. Either way, on Monday 2/24/25, we're going to check occupancy of your unit between 9 and 3. So everybody's going to be there on Monday.
Yeah, everybody.
Shamasco, please put something together for the court so that
When we spoke with tenants earlier today, we were put on notice about these different things that have gone out to them that really have nothing to do with repairs or actually
Mr.
inspection.
Friedman, I know you, you've been before me, I don't know how many years. As best you can, you better get to your clients. You need to tell them just to stop it. They're playing a game. And if they think they're the ones gonna get burned, they're wrong. Anything else? All right. That will conclude the hearings. Mr. Friedman, we have your copies of your show causes. We can get you copies, or at least they're all the same in essence, but at least you can see what it is.
All right, everybody, that's it for us tonight. Thank you so much for coming out. We appreciate it. Linus isn't feeling good, so we're gonna have to call it quits. No, Brecken, I do not want to watch Crime Time. Thank you for the offer, though. All right, you guys have a great night, and we will get out of here.